looking for a coming-of-age story from a local author, then look no further. We've got a book that talks about decisions you have to make while growing up and how those choices affect the road you end up on. It's a new book called Fire in the Field. And right now, I want to welcome the author of this book, John Young. John, good to have you back on the show.
Well, thanks, Mona. I appreciate that. Yeah, these stories, some of them are, like you say, they're coming-of-age stories, but some of them are very different than that. They're adults trying to make really hard decisions, in some cases, life or death decisions.
Yeah, well, give us a little background on Fire in the Field and why you decided to write it.
Well, it's every writer, it's your job to write. And so, I mean, I have heard pieces of these stories through my life. You know, you collect these things, and we all hear people talk about stories, but a writer hears them and ponders them and listens to them sometimes for years before putting it together into a collection or into a story. And in this book, I have 16 stories that have really run the gamut from a very insightful 9-year-old who's struggling against his father to an older woman who's in her last days trying to make sense of her life and the life of those around her.
All right. Well, talk a little bit about the format of your book, because it's a little different than your previous books, right?
Yes. My last book was a novel I published in 2019 called When the Coin is in the Air. And it is a coming-of-age novel. Where it is about a young man's sort of search for self-worth and how he goes about finding his path. This is very different than that. It's a collection of stories. And my next book, which has been accepted for publication by Guernica Press, will be coming out in the spring of 23. And it, too, is a very different book. And I guess part of it for me as an artist is to look at the world through different eyes and challenge myself to do new and different things. So this collection gives me a chance to look at a lot of different types of characters and build those stories, but to do it in a smaller, compressed fashion so I can deal with a single epiphany that a character has and focus on something important in their lives.
And you know what, also something is a little different in this book, is that you kind of jump around when it comes to the age of your protagonists. Why was that important to you? It wasn't so much that the age was important, but these stories would come to me. I would hear something, or I would dream up something about a situation, and it hit me that this character had to be of a certain age to make it viable. You know, sometimes it's a middle-aged person trying to find their way, thinking about decisions they'd made in their lives and how those had set their course. Maybe looking back with a sense of ennui for a decision that they could have made differently or better. And then how do they achieve the life that they really want for themselves later? Like I mentioned, some of them are kids who are facing ways to rewrite their future, if you will. Well, your books are always very intriguing. And so how can people pick up a copy of your book?
Well, thank you for that. And yes, you can buy it at any local bookstore. You can order it from them. It's available online as well from Amazon. It was published by Golden Antelope Press, which is a really nice little literary press. And it's really available anywhere. So anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, actually. So it's got very broad distribution. A small press, but a big distributor, which is a good thing for a writer to get their work out. So you can go to Joseph-beth. And also, I was going to say, Roebling Point Bookstore is another favorite of mine, just across the bridge in Kentucky. And you can learn more about it from my website at johnyoungwriter.com. And then also, I'll be doing readings around the city. My first one scheduled right now is June 23rd at StudioKroner on West Court Street. And I'll be doing a reading there, and it should be a fun night of art to celebrate visual art as well as literary art.
All right, John. Thank you so much for talking to us. Really appreciate it, and all the best with your new book. And for those at home,
well, thanks, Mona.
We'll be right back.